Now, turning to our program, please welcome Maggie Opplinger, General Manager and CEO of the Florentine Opera, to introduce our speaker.
Hi, everyone. I don't usually have the opportunity to stand here and talk about my sister, and it was very tempting to bring out a number of family stories and go completely off track, but I promise I will behave. I want you to get a sense of who Micaela is before she comes and talks to you about Rite-Hite. When Micaela started university, she chose Colgate, and she's a fierce basketball player, played all the way through school, and really wanted to be a part of that team. And Colgate, for those of you who don't know, it is a fairly small school. And I remember my mom saying, Micaela, don't you want a bigger school? You like to meet people, you get out a lot. And Micaela said, no, I really want to try this. And she got there and she called me. I was living in Montreal at the time and said, I've been here a week. I'm looking out my window at the main quad, and I know every single person on it. And that is really a testament to who Micaela is. She loves to meet people. She's incredibly curious. She's very team focused. She is all of the athletic skills that I do not have. If you know me, they are terrible. Micaela is not only a great basketball player, she's also been a soccer player. She ran track, if I'm not mistaken, and then, got bored and decided to pick up golf. She's not too bad. So as she takes the stage, please know this is someone I respect as a very warm, welcoming member, not only of my family, but also of Milwaukee. And I'm very proud that she is now at the helm of Rite-Hite, and I hope you all enjoy meeting her. I certainly enjoy hanging out with her from time to time.
That's my first time being introduced by my sister. She definitely could have gone a few other angles. That was kind of her. She left out that I went to 3 colleges in about a year. So yeah, you're kind. You're kind. Well, I got asked to talk to you a little bit today about Rite-Hite and what's going on with our company, what we do, and I think many of you heard we recently had a move to downtown, so I thought I'd share a little bit of that with you, and then happy to answer whatever questions you have. So I'll jump in here, try and keep you entertained for a minute. That's me. Usually I have a little better voice, but I got 3 little toddlers at home. So most of the winter, this will probably be the voice. You get used to it over time. It's probably going to get deeper by the end of our talk here. Our vision at Rite-Hite is really a new concept for us. When I took over as CEO a couple years ago, sat with our leadership team and really talked about, what do you guys see? What do we need to do? Where do we need to go? And we ultimately ended up deciding, we really need an enterprise plan that connects where we all want to go together. At the time, we had 7 operating companies that really had 7 different plans. And that got us a really long way. What it enabled was a lot of focus in specific areas. What the challenges it created was it became hard to prioritize across because it wasn't so clear across those 7 business units what's the most important thing we've got to do this year. And so all that discussion around strategic planning really led us to this vision for our company, which is our goal is to drive operational excellence for facilities worldwide. And we've got to do that ourselves. We've got to be operational excellent to help our customers be operationally excellent. So that's really at the foundation of our plan. And then something we're talking a lot about today is just as a team, together we succeed. If we can work across the company and all those different functions and all these different business units, really drive towards the same goals and ultimately try and please our customers, we're going to have a lot of success. So that's a lot of what we've been talking about. Our mission has really stayed the same. So our mission is to continuously improve safety and efficiency for our customers through quality, innovative solutions. We tweaked that a little bit. For the most part, it's been the same for over 60 years. So pretty cool. And if you talk to my dad or have had the chance to meet him, you'll hear him say 1,000,000 times over, there's nothing more important than the customer. So our team talks a heck of a lot about those customers. And you can see all those faces in that picture. Those are all our employees. We try to keep that at the forefront of everything we do. Really just try and think about what would help a customer. And at the end of the day, that's what we think wins. I mentioned that dad of mine and Maggie's. Our grandpa started the company. His name was Art White. Started Rite-Hite in 1965. And really, it was a small company when my dad bought it from him. My dad bought it in '86. We had 50 employees, and really, we're just coming about a differentiated product. So we had just invented what's called the vehicle restraint. So it's a piece of equipment that prevents accidents as you're loading and unloading trailers. So it connects to the building floor and prevents accidents as you're loading and unloading. Really was the flagship product that built Rite-Hite. And the impact our dad had was really getting the company rallied around focusing on a differentiated product. And then, his mark on the company has really been continuing to come up with more of those innovative products and really using customers to do that, which I think has made Rite-Hite a really special space. So today we've got 3 U.S. manufacturing sites. The main ones are in Memphis, Horn Lake area, right outside of Memphis, Clare, Michigan, more of a specialty plant there, and then Dubuque, Iowa. So in the U.S., those are our big plants. And outside of the U.S., we've got a plant in Volksmarsen, Germany, and Jawor, Poland, as well as Kunshan, China. Almost everything we do is manufactured to market because our equipment tends to be pretty heavy. So shipping out of market doesn't generally make a ton of sense. And Rite-Hite is now owned by my siblings and myself. So there's 6 of us. Maggie's one of them. There's another 4. A couple of them in the Milwaukee area. Hopefully we had the chance to meet them. And there's already 21 kids in the next generation. We couldn't be more proud to be associated with Rite-Hite. It's really been a fun company with a lot of wonderful employees. You can see we're up to 2,800 people across the world. And really lucky to have a lot of talented folks on our team. I've always loved this picture. Really, it's a bird's eye view of a facility that shows just about everything we manufacture and distribute. And you can see on the far right there, that's a fabric air duct, sort of a unique product. Traditionally, air ducts are in metal. Most of you are probably familiar with that. When we bought a company called Fromelt Industries in 1991, they had a bookshelf product that they were making for Oscar Mayer Wiener. That was a fabric air duct. And the reason that Oscar Mayer liked it is they could take it down and clean it. So in food environments, it's got to be really clean. And a guy who worked for us, his name was Kerry Micaela, really commercialized that product and turned it into a business. So that's now called Duck Socks. One of our smaller product lines, doesn't get quite as much focus, but really a neat differentiated product. And then you can see on the bottom left there, our core product lines are really in the material transfer zone. And all that is what I described, that vehicle restraint as you're loading and unloading trailers. We make a lot of products around that process. So safety equipment, we really try and help our customers be safe in that environment. So we've got a software arm that works within those product categories to give our customers connected solutions so that they can ensure their products are being used in the right way to give those safety benefits. Then we've got a lot of stuff you'd see in plants. So high-speed doors, safety barriers, got a thing called a safety signal that tells you if you've got incoming traffic flow that could have a collision. Really the company is built on differentiated products, and that'll continue to be the lifeblood of our business. You can see here, these are the categories we kind of bucket things into. So as I mentioned, we've got loading dock safety, security, and productivity. We've got those in-plant safety solutions, and then we've got environmental separation, control, and energy savings. Our focus right now, a lot of it's around making sure our portfolio provides that smart, connected product lineup. So, we've got a lot of safety products that have a ton of benefits for our customers. The key is on this next stage using data to help to tell our customers, are we actually using those products to be safe, or do we have some opportunities to be safer? And we've got about 50 customers now partnered with us on the digital side. And they're really working with us to help refine that software arm to make sure that the data behind the products allows us that advantage to make sure that they're working the way they would expect it to. And you can imagine over time, that'll also lead us to more of a replenishment play. So Doc 4 isn't working. Rite-Hite's aware of it. We get in touch with our customers. We let them know. We get to a point where we can tell them, you're best off buying a new piece of equipment, or you should fix the one you've got. And these are the reasons why. So over time, that'll be a differentiated story we're able to provide that our competitors won't be able to. The reason for that is that box on the right. Rite-Hite's got a distribution arm and some really strong distribution partners. The ones we own are called Arbonne Equipment. My grandparents are Art and Bonnie White. My dad named it after them, which is actually ironic because my grandpa tried to start his own distributor. It didn't quite work. So he was very opposed to the idea. He did not want my dad to do it. And then my dad named it after him. So I always make fun of my dad for that. Luckily, it did work. So it's turned out to be a great name for us. But that's an advantage we have. We can provide our customers with the service and distribution side as well as the equipment, which in the end will allow us to provide data to our customers that our competitors won't have because they don't have that service data. So that's a lot of what our team is driving toward now. I got asked a little bit about why we did this little move downtown, which for us was a pretty big move. So I thought I'd go into that a little bit and then open it up for Q&A. So I'll start with why the heck did we consider downtown? And you're all well aware, right? You're in the downtown Rotary. That means you're probably connected to downtown. As we thought about our future, the average age in our Brown Deer facility, so at the time we had 5 buildings in Milwaukee, the average age of Brown Deer was 55. And we thought the project was going to take us a couple of years. So we knew we'd hit a point where we had a bunch of retirees. And as we got to that point, we knew we'd need to be able to recruit talent. So downtown enabled us the ability to make sure we were best positioned to get talent from every which way in town. And we really explored a lot of options and decided that was the best place for us. And I'll tell you, I think it's paid off in spades already. Going from 5 buildings to 1 has really culturally been a neat experience. It was hard. Even if you tried really hard to get to those 5 buildings regularly, it was hard to really build relationships across those buildings in the same way that we have now. So in our downtown headquarters, which I understand some of you are going to come see tomorrow, which I appreciate. It'll be fun to have you. It's a really neat lunch experience. So we've got free lunch and free breakfast. And the reason we made that investment is because we really believe in trying to build relationships across our business and trying to build tenure across our employee base. We believe that's given us a big differentiation over time and something we want to keep doing into the future. And so if you come into our lunchroom around noontime, I mean, it's a bustling scene. And one of the coolest parts that I really underestimated is how many people we have flying in on a regular basis. So from training classes to we do a lot of customer visits to show them the difference between our equipment and our competitors. We really get the chance to get a lot of people through that building. And it's neat. Culturally, people really tend to sit with folks they don't know. So that ends up yielding a lot of relationships with a lot of new people we have in our building, which has been just phenomenal to be a part of and a whole lot of fun to build the next chapter of culture for us. So it really been a nice project for us moving downtown. This is what you'll see tomorrow if you can make it. This was some of the early renderings. So we've got 2 buildings. So the building on that north side is really more of the offices and then some employee showcase area. It's also got our family office within it. So we've got a family office that focuses on long-term direct investment in companies and in real estate. They're also within that north building. And then we've got our cafeteria and some amenities in there. And then on the other side, on the south side, we've got training classrooms, we've got tech training, we've got customer showrooms where we can demonstrate, a forklift running through a high-speed door, things that make our products stand out. We believe in show versus tell, right? So if we can get those customers to see the difference between what happens with our equipment in situations in their plant versus other folks' equipment, we believe there's a whole lot of value in that versus talking about it. So we invest heavily in that. So, in a given year, about 650 companies come visit us. We also do quite a bit virtually with customers. And a lot of that is focused on just showing them our stuff. And they'll come in and tell us what their problems are, what they're trying to solve for. And we've got a team whose whole job is just to help those folks see what we can do for them. And really an important program as you think about helping customers understand differentiation and what we do differently. It's a nice campus to allow us to do that. The history of it is it was called Reed Street Yards. So old railroad grounds really hadn't been developed before we got there. So really a fun project from beginning to end. Sarah, who's sitting in front of me here, was a huge part of that project. And we were fortunate. Quite a few companies in the Milwaukee area helped us as we worked our way through that project. So I'll offer up, if any of you ever have a project like that or know someone with one, we're more than happy to be a sounding board, tell you our experiences. We really had a great experience with C.D. Smith and really had a nice experience with Epstein Ewan. So happy to tell you about it, help you to tell you what we learned. We certainly aren't perfect, but our team did a really nice job, I thought, on the project. And this was kind of the greenfield landscape. All in all, I think it's, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 12 and a half acres with the option property. So to the right there, you can see we've got some additional land. We plan to make this our long-term site. So we've got some growth opportunity. So if we need the space, we've got it. We also could picture doing some sort of mixed-use development there at some point, like a daycare, where it would be an amenity for our employees, but also an amenity for that area. We really like the idea of our employees' kids getting to mix and kind of continuing to create this sticky culture we've been lucky to be a part of. These are just some of the statistics, so I won't read it to you here, but groundbreaking was November of 2020. Our move-ins in that south building was July 2022. In the north building, it was March of 23. And the crazy number there is the number of piles driven, 2,200. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of pile driver, but they aren't quiet. We are very lucky. We had kind neighbors, especially the peepers. Really had some nice neighbors that were kind to us in that process. You can imagine we had a few curveballs there with the different layers under the ground. And kind of cool there, we've got solar panels on top of the building. Neat story as we think about ESG and where that's going. These are just some pictures, and hopefully get the chance to experience it tomorrow. I think they did a really nice job coming up with how we could really show our customers the differences in our stuff. That guy on the top right there, his name is Walt Sweetlick. He's the Michael Jordan of loading dock equipment. I once gave him a product demo. I froze. It was about a 10-second demo. And his response was, "Is that it?" I just said, "I need a break. I'll come back." I had to do a redo. It was like playing basketball with Michael Jordan. I completely froze. But he knows about just about everything you can imagine about loading docks, industrial customers. And he just retired. I'm really happy for him. But boy, did he build a squad under him that knows how to do the same thing. So a huge part of our company and a huge part of what we do in Milwaukee when we bring people to town. And then you can see here we invested a lot in amenities. So it was an interesting time to build a building because it was mid-COVID. All the while, my dad was kind of a steady Eddie voice of, it's really important. This is a place people want to come. And he had some really important contributions to the project. I would say the biggest one was we were all set to do a catering kitchen, thinking that was the good move. My dad told us to make the call. And he did an about face and said, no, you got to do a kitchen staff. And I'll tell you, he was right. So every once in a while, those dads know a little something. But you can imagine I had a little impact on that golf simulator. I thought that'd be a good addition. And then we've got a fitness room, and that's a picture of our deck. Really been a nice place for employees to spend time together and continue to get to know each other. You can see here we got lots of training and meeting spaces. So, we bring in a ton of technicians. We've got about 450 technicians throughout the country that work on fixing our stuff. And so we got to make sure they know what they're doing. We also bring in our independent reps that are folks that work on our equipment exclusively. We train them as well. So that's a big part of what we do in our building. We bring a lot of people to town for that. That's a really nice program for us. And then we also do a sales training program on a pretty regular basis to make sure our salespeople are trained up and understand how to solve customer problems. And with that, I'll open it up to questions. This is a picture of the outside of the building. Hopefully get the chance to come visit us tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, I'm okay. Thank you, though. Yeah. You pity my voice?
All right, Tom.
As a former board member of the Downtown YMCA, I wanted to thank your company for their philanthropy on the north side. Rite-Hite YMCA. Thank you for that. What is your philosophy, or I know you want to comment on minority hiring?
Sure. We're big believers in succession planning, making sure everyone's got a fair shot. We've worked really hard at that. We've got a head of HR. Her name is Kate Silla. She's very passionate about that topic in particular. You can imagine I am as well. And we've made significant strides on diverse hiring. And I think it's paid off in spades. We've got a really strong team with a bunch of people from different backgrounds, different places. All look a little different, and we're all for it. It's been wonderful. Yeah.
Hi, Micaela. Thanks to Rite-Hite for bringing their headquarters downtown. It's important for the future of Milwaukee to have companies headquartered there. In one of your pictures, you had the 794 corridor, and as you may know, there's proposals to remove that or to change the way that that's structured. I was wondering if you have any thoughts or input related to that, or just the public transit infrastructure in Milwaukee in general.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm not as well spoken on that one as I probably should be. For Rite-Hite's purposes, I don't know that it really changes our people's commute. So I don't know that I have a strong view one way or the other. I could see both sides of that project and the pros and the cons. I'm just not close enough to it to have strong views one way or the other. It's a good question.
Well, thank you for bringing your business downtown. It really looks nice. Wall Street Journal had an article yesterday on cybersecurity and infiltration of America's infrastructure, water, transport, et cetera. And your business is basically security, safety, et cetera. You have a software component, obviously. Do you have any thoughts on what cybersecurity and the threats of attack have done to your products, to your design, and to your service?
Yeah, we spend quite a bit of time and energy on cybersecurity. We've got a guy named Vamsi, who that's his whole job, and he's got a little team under him. We've been fortunate. He's done a lot of wonderful groundwork. We've got to get SOC 2 compliance. I don't know if you know much about that, but software companies, that's the gold standard for making sure you're cyber secure. We've got to get that for our digital arm. So right in the middle of that process right now. As our customers think about putting their products online with us, that's something that they'll demand from us. Right now, we do a lot of cellular connection with our products, so you mitigate a lot of those risks. But that's something we spend a lot of time thinking about from a customer angle. From an internal angle, Vamsi's done a nice job. We've now got cybersecurity insurance up to $10 million with no contingencies or anything. Getting to that point has been a big investment for us. And we do a lot of investment in training our people, as well as trying to make sure folks understand all the risks. one of the challenges we see are independent reps tend to be smaller companies, call it somewhere between 20 million to 100. For them, it's a real challenge. They don't have quite the same investment ability as we do to protect themselves. So the risk we've seen have been more in their bailiwick than ours, and we've been able to help them out. As I think of the landscape of it, that's where I think we got to make sure we're supporting companies. There's some opportunities there to make sure those customers are safe in the cyber world, for sure.
You mentioned in your talk about dock safety and some of your safety programs. I noticed in the paper the last few days they're talking about forklift safety throughout the country. I had an employer that once foolishly let me drive a forklift truck for a while, and I thought it was a little tricky. So do you have marketing opportunities? Are you already there with respect to that type of safety issue?
That's a great question. Forklift safety is really at the forefront of everything we do. We spend a lot of time on that topic. We're primarily really a safety company, right? I mean, that's our mission, that's our vision. Drive customers to be operationally excellent. They've got to be safe. It's our actually number one initiative going into next year is really driving safety. And as we talk to our customers, that's a lot of their number one. And I think the reason behind that is you've got a lot of attrition in the factory space. You got a lot of new factory workers. And those skill sets are hard to come by. So you're starting to see that play out. So a lot of the things we're working on are how do you really make sure everything we provide our customers doesn't need a training manual, it just works. How do we make sure that we just create a safe environment and we're getting in front of proactive safety versus reactive, which if you look historically, our industry's been pretty good at the reactive. The proactive is really our opportunity. So a lot of the stuff we're doing on the software side of the business is to drive that proactive safety, which we believe will help impact forklift safety over time.
Hello. You mentioned your move to Milwaukee has paid off in spades already. My question is, have you had conversations with other companies about that move? And is there eyes looking at Rite-Hite's transformation to Milwaukee as a model for what could happen with other organizations?
Yeah, it's a good question. I tend to talk to a few folks. I think every company's on a different journey, right? So when we started talking to companies 7 years ago, you really got the full landscape. So manpower, for instance, had a big impact on our decision. And I think as companies think about the move downtown, whether or not that's a good move, we're getting a lot more reach outs, as you would imagine, because we just went through that experience. And we were fortunate enough to get a lot of support from those other companies as we were figuring it out. So we definitely highlight it as best we can when the opportunities arise. And I think as you look at talent in Milwaukee, it's a luring spot. I mean, you can pull from all the different sides of towns, especially as you think about retaining and building talent over time. It's a talent war, and it's going to keep being a talent war, especially as you think about digital in your business, as you think about where companies need to go. So I think Milwaukee will continue to be a really attractive city for companies to come.
You mentioned that you have a family office in the center of the building or somewhere in the building. I'm curious, what kinds of things does the family office invest in or support?
Yeah, great question. So our family office is called Six Sibs Capital. You can imagine where that might have come from. A little more of a unique name. So Six Sibs Capital invests in direct investment into companies and real estate with a completely long-term mindset. I spent a little bit of time in private equity. Our leader of the family office spent some time in private equity. We've come to the mindset that the things you can do with companies, if you hold them for the long term, and with real estate, if you hold them for the long term, are more unique in our perspective than if you're trying to flip them. And so we genuinely plan to invest in the long term in companies. So Six Sibs has bought a company called Stevenson Partners, which is a search firm focused on life sciences. They've also invested in Green Light Distribution, which is a liquor distribution business in Texas. They've done some co-investments. And the leader of that family office, his name is Jack Wigdale. He does a phenomenal job, and really a lot of what he does is meet with companies and learn their story and figure out if they could be a good fit with us. And we're just looking for partners that are in it for the long game, that maybe could use some capital and some guidance in how to grow a business. And it's a fun platform for us. It gives us some diversification away from Rite-Hite, but also a platform long-term for our family to continue investing. So it's a really fun platform for us.
Hi, Micaela. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I want to start by admitting that I didn't know much about Rite-Hite aside from what you guys did around loading docks. But with the story that you shared and what you guys stand for and the move and the reason for the move to downtown, you definitely ascended to top 3 companies in Milwaukee for me. Which leads to my question. So with Rite-Hite being a privately held company, and in your opinion, being at the helm of a privately held company, what advantages do you think that gives you in comparison to, a publicly held company? A good example to follow up on Antoine's question too would be like making a decision to move to downtown, for example.
Yeah, I think appreciate the kind comments. If the 6 siblings and my parents weren't bought into being for the long term and invested in Rite-Hite, we never would have done downtown. I mean, it was a very big investment, and it's not a quick payback. And free lunch, free breakfast, all those things, they don't pay back in a year, right? I mean, it's an investment in our people. It's an investment in trying to retain and grow our talent. All those things are long term minded. And as I think of being family held and what we can do because of that, I'm really lucky. We've got a sibling group that really understands what it means to invest. And that means our plan going into next year, our strategic plan, is really focused on true investment areas. We've got a leadership team that's all in to invest for the future. So a lot of it is putting capital to work. So we're putting up a lot of new machinery in our plants. We're putting a whole bunch of resources and bandwidth into R&D. We're continuing to invest in digital, which is a long-term play. We're focused on international product vitality, which is another really long-term play. We're getting to do that at a time where other companies are doing layoffs and things like that. So I think it gives us the ability to invest at times where other companies can't necessarily invest. And also because our family ownership group is so bought into where we can grow this thing and what we can do together, I think it gives us a competitive advantage for the long run and hopefully into future generations.
Kind of answered what I was going to ask, talking about the investment you're doing internally. I was curious, do you look at acquisition as a part of growth as well?
Quite a bit, yeah. So I spent about a decade of my career in the acquisition space. So I've got kind of a natural bent there. What we do on average, maybe 1 or 2, call it $30 million enterprise value deals a year. And that's been kind of our rhythm for about a decade. Most of those are kind of layup opportunities that just fit right in our space. As I think through the next 5 to 10 years, we're likely to try and do something a little bigger, but we've got to make sure our foundation is in a good spot. So we got into a little bit of tech debt. We didn't invest enough on the technology, software, changing process in innovative ways to make sure, for example, accounts payable. We got way too high of a balance of accounts payable. So we had to really look at that process. See, how are we doing things? Looked a heck of a lot similar to how we did things 20 years ago, right? So we're having to reinvent a lot of processes that we just hadn't reinvented in a while. But once we knock out some of those projects, I think M&A becomes a bigger part of our strategy and a really interesting part. So right now, for instance, I think building relationships with some companies in Europe of bigger size make a lot of sense. You could buy it at a lower multiple. You've also got 2 kicks at the can at Synergy. You could try and grow our products in Europe through that company's channel. You could also bring a product that hasn't been commercialized in the U.S. to the U.S. And those should be some really good opportunities for us. So we spend a lot of time trying to build relationships with companies that I don't think you can make people sell, but when they choose to sell, we sure hope they're giving us a call and we're in that conversation.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm always curious, what is the motivation behind certain products? You know, what was your grandfather or father thinking? Because if I was going to start a company, I think the last thing on my mind would be to start a company for loading docks, you know? So I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I'll share the biggest one, which is my grandpa with the vehicle restraint. My grandpa was Mr. Customer, just bled customers. He could also probably get any one of us to follow him off a bridge happily. He's just that type of guy. You would follow him anywhere. He had his ear to the ground and really heard customers at a trucking conference continue to have this problem of truck pullout, of trucks tipping, and of forklift accidents at the loading dock. And he became passionate about that problem. You know, it's never one guy, right? Norm Hahn was our lead engineer at the time. He and my grandpa, you know, had a few bar napkins in the mix. I think they had a little more fun than we do now. They probably had a grand old time, but they came up with a way to fix that problem. They really just kept chipping away at it and came up with a solution that happened to solve a lot of those problems, and then they patented it. And I'd say, you know, we're really spending a lot of time and energy and focus trying to replicate that formula. And it's as simple as listen to customers, try and come up with some solutions to their problems. Not all of them are going to work, but you can try and then see if you can differentiate them with patents. So that's been our recipe, and it's worked pretty well.
Thank you. You have a very beautiful building. I don't know when people see it if they think downtown. You have a very unique location in the city. And I was wondering about the criteria for site selection, a site that doesn't seem to have access or adjacency to housing or education, or it's not particularly a walkable neighborhood, or, you know, people can see it from across the river but not necessarily be there. And your campus hours, what are your campus hours, and how do you feel about your connection to the community, and how will you grow that now that you're there, you know, with the, you know, your employment base and other things reaching out within your neighborhood?
Sure, great questions. We'll see if I can keep track of those. I'll try and get a couple of them anyway. Site location, that was a super interesting process. It took us a long time. We probably took 2 years to do that. We did quite a bit of work trying to figure out, okay, if we have a bunch of people retire, how are we going to try and fill those gaps and make sure we have the right talent around us? And as you looked at Mequon, one of the challenges was it's not dense at all. It's really spread out. The average age in Mequon was a little higher. So it felt like talent-wise, we'd have some challenges if we went north. We had a pretty luring opportunity if we stayed right down the road from where we were in the River Hills area, and that was probably the second contender. We had another spot in Glendale that was a contender. We had the luxury of time. We weren't in a hurry, and we did an experiment with a downtown office. We moved sales and marketing downtown to see how it would go. And one of the things we were concerned about is just how are our people going to react? You know, a lot of our folks hadn't even been downtown. They hadn't spent time down there. So it was an intimidating concept to tell people we were going to move downtown. So that gave us kind of an excuse to try it. And I would say that experiment is really ultimately what tipped us over. I mean, we spent a lot of time thinking about how are we going to get talent. But then ultimately, you know, what experience are we creating for people when they show up every day? And how do we create the Google-like environment where people just want to go to work and they've got enough amenities around them that it's a place they really want to be at? And then, you know, we knew with a lot of retirements, that means we're going to have a lot of new people. Our secret sauce has been part of our secret sauce has been long tenure and culture. So we knew we were going to have to try and build that again. So the size of our campus, having that 12 plus acre area, gave us the opportunity to make sure we could build those amenities around us, which was one of the most important pieces. We actually liked, at the time we started the project, we had an assembly operation in Mequon that we didn't know if we would have to move downtown or not. And the site we're at is called a mixed use site. So if we ever needed to do assembly or anything like that in that area, we could. So we liked that flexibility. And then we liked the ability to expand over time if we needed to. It also felt a little bit less scary of a downtown area because you're not as much in the hustle and bustle. So whereas some people might see that as a negative, we actually thought, well, it's kind of a positive. We can make sure there's a lot of reasons for them to eat in that cafe if we're going to invest in free lunch, free breakfast. And we get our bang for our buck of people getting to know each other and building relationships. So that was a lot of our thought process. Our campus hours, we went back and forth. I think it's 8 to 5-ish, but I'm pretty sure our doors are open a lot of the time. Yeah, and we do a 3-2 schedule. So 3 days a week employees are in, 2 days a week they can work from home. A lot of us, including myself, come in every day. I just suck at working from home. Got those 3 toddlers running around. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. I think you mentioned that you have a facility in China. Yeah. Can you talk about what your thinking is for the future of that facility in light of current and potential Chinese-American relations?
Yeah, that's a loaded question there. It's just a small one. Yeah, it's a small one. We're at an interesting time. We've had a really strong leader in China now for 25 years. His name was Richard Z. He just retired. So we've got a new leader there. It's an exciting time for him to really take on where we can take that market. We do about $20 million in China, so it's not huge. Rite-Hite's about $1.3 billion. So relative to our scale, it's fairly small. Our philosophy has sort of been the population in China is huge. So at the end of the day, whether you know where the geopolitical landscape is going or not, it's still going to be a huge population. So we'd like to have a bet there. I think it's going to be interesting to see. We've tried to do manufacturing, distribution, and service there all at the same time. I think that's probably too many things to try and do at once. So this new leader, his name is Wilson, he's going to have to pick a pony. Maybe we try and be a lead distributor there. Maybe we try and be a lead service company, or maybe we try and be a lead manufacturer. I think it's a challenge to try and do all three. And the geopolitical landscape, in our case, it'll hit us more on the supply chain side than it will on the actual markets. We don't really manufacture much in China that we ship out. The biggest ship out we do is really to Australia. So not a lot of changes there. The place we'll see it the most is on supply chain for controls that ultimately all come out of China. How will that affect us? But that's really through a vendor. So that's all I got. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.